Sunday, streaming to you all over the world from Boca Raton, Florida. Yay! Okay. All right. So I'm Karen, as usual, finding the light through the darkness. And I open it up, and of course I'm a Libra, remember that. So I'm looking at one side of the page that I opened up, and I'm thinking, this is going to go, I could work on it or work with it, but it goes on and on and on. It's very long. And then I realized, wait a second, Chaim. Karen was also a Libra. I'm a Libra. Let's turn and look at the other page. And when I look at the other page, I say, aha, here's our message for this morning, or for the evening, or the early morning, wherever you are, the middle of the night, some of you. So I want to read to you this, and it is a longer, if you want to read the whole thing, it's See Difficulties as a Chance to Change. So that's the title. But the part that's really pertinent, which will fit with this morning, we can just do shortly here. Karen says, we do not have to wait for tragedy to strike to become the hero of our own lives. When someone or some situation challenges us, we have a choice. We can think, how can I make this situation go away as soon as possible? Or we can think, how can I transform this situation into light? In quickly pushing uncomfortable things aside, we can miss the opportunity being presented to us to grow. If we open our eyes and we tune in spiritually, we will find that each day affords us with a chance to discover the light from the darkness. So let's think about this last week, how many times we tried to run away from those uncomfortable situations. And we'll see a little bit more this morning, how that's not an advantage for us, it's a disadvantage. So we talked about, or I put on the Facebook, we want to talk about divine timing, right? People say everything is, God's timing, God's perfect timing, everything's in God's timing, which we'll add a little to that also. But let me ask you, what do you think time is? If we really think about what is time really 60 seconds to an hour, hours, days, weeks, months, years, etc.? So I ask you this. Have you ever been in a hurry somewhere? And you're either in front of an elevator or you're at the store and you're trying to check out, etc. How long, when you're in a hurry to get somewhere, how long is that line? Forever and a day, yes? Or the traffic goes on and on and on. The reverse. If a person's on the way to the dentist and they don't like going to the dentist, and please forgive me, all the dentists, it's not about you, but people are a little scared. Maybe they have to have a tooth taken out or whatever, and they want to drag their feet to get there, so to speak. All of a sudden, what happens? Boom! It happens instantly. The elevator shows up, the traffic opens up, and there's no way they can delay it. Or, here's one I thought of yesterday. How many of you have friends that don't consider time in the same way you? You say, let's meet at 6. Your let's meet at 6 is 5 minutes till, 10 minutes till. Their meet at 6, 5 after, 10 after, things like that, yes? So then what is time? What we're understanding Kabbalistically, by having consciousness. For most people, the human aspect of time is relative to our desire, relative to our mood, relative to our perception. So then, even from a simple human point of view, even though they say 60 seconds to a minute, 60 minutes to an hour, etc., but we've all had the very powerful and impactful experience, time is relative to me. Time is relative to other people, and sometimes those relativities don't match up. So then there's got to be something else about timing. So, like we always do, let's go back to the foundation. Kabbalah 1. Right? If you haven't taken Kabbalah 1 in a long time, go online, Kabbalah.com, watch it. Watch one of the new ones that are coming on Zoom around the world. Go back to your old tapes. God's timing. God's timing. Let's talk about God's timing. And usually when we talk about God's timing, what do we refer to? You hear things like, it's going to happen when it's going to happen. What's meant to be is meant to be. Right? It'll take place when God wants. Never heard those things, right? So what are we saying? Now, let's be honest with ourselves, objectively honest. When people or you and I have said those things, what are we really saying? It's either, I don't want to do anything, it's too much responsibility, or I don't want to put in the effort. So you know what? It'll happen when it's going to happen. What's meant to be is meant to be. So anytime somebody says that to me, unless they're brand new, I'll be a little different about it. But you look at it, if you just sat down, let's say you say, what's meant to be is meant to be, what's going to happen, happen. So you sit in your chair and you just sit and you're glued to that chair. An hour, 2 hours, your stomach starts to rumble. Well, food's going to happen when food's going to happen. You're still sitting in the chair hungry and hungrier and hungrier and thirsty. And you sit there for 24 hours, 48 hours. What are you going to do? It's going to happen what's going to happen. Right? It's going to take place. Well, if you sit in that chair too long, either die of thirst, die of hunger, get thrown out of the house because you didn't pay the bills after a certain amount of time, etc., etc. So what do you mean? What will be, will be. So we have to understand, yes, we're usually talking about some form of predestiny. I don't want to take responsibility. It's too much effort. So we'll just say, what will be, will be. Yes, but we all know in a simple way, you don't go to work, you don't get paid. Don't get paid, can't pay your bills, you go on and on and on. So we all know that in a very physical way. How many times you ever woke up in the morning, didn't feel like going to work today? Ever happened to you? So why don't you just sleep? Say, the heck with it, that's it, stay home and that's it. Why? Why do you suddenly find the energy to get up and get out of bed and go to work? One, if you're the boss, because you got to make sure things go well. If you're the worker, you don't want to get fired. You don't want other people complaining about you because you didn't do your piece of whatever the job was. So you suddenly find the ways and means to get up and overcome that and get out of bed and go to work or whatever that responsibility is. So we go back. Let's ask. Now we have sort of a human aspect. We have what most people think is God's aspect. Let's see what the Kabbalists say about time. What about God's timing? So what do we teach? The creator, the source of this infinite power of light, lasting infinite fulfillment. How much time does God have? And be careful how you answer it, because I'm probably, for most of us, going to sound like I'm contradicting that. We want to say God has infinite time because God is infinite. But if we really think about it in practical actuality, there is no time to God. There is no time to God. God has no time. Let that sink in. Meaning what? In the last maybe 15, 20 years, all of a sudden, over the last 50 years that the Rav and Karen have brought Kabbalah to the world, literally to the world, people jumping on the bandwagon, right? They started to come up with all these new things, law of attraction and the secrets and this and that, whatever it may be, right? We've been teaching it since I'm in the center 34 years, 50 some odd years for the Rav and Karen since Rav Brandwein, the Rav's teacher, left the world. You go all the way back for thousands of years. This wisdom has been in written form for over 2,000 years. The big thing of late, don't want to be in the past. And some people even tell you, well, there really isn't a past. Some people want to be in the future. What will be? What's going to happen? And what are people saying now? You've got to be in the present, in the now. So if we're learning how not to focus on the past or the future, not that we don't work with it, certainly in the center we do, but not as time. Everything is about the now, because that's all there is, people will tell you. Well, if that's all we have as human beings, how much more so the Creator? The Creator is only now. And as we teach, the Creator has already done everything. The Creator's job is over. For those of you who are new, that doesn't mean that the Creator's light is not involved in our world. Like the sun. Let's say in those simple terms, the sun shines. However you want to understand, the Big Bang, the sun came about, the sun's shining. Does the sun ever stop shining? No. We may not see it because we turn away from it, we block it, the clouds, whatever you want to say, but the sun always shines. So the sun's shine is available technically 24/7. How much more than the light of God? Once the Creator began emanating its light and created humanity as one soul, a vessel to hold and reveal that light, from that point of view and our understanding, the Creator's job is done. Everything's perfect, everything's been given, everything's already in place. Period. So there is no time because it's already finished. You and I are in the illusion of time. We have to go from here to there. So it takes us 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or, I have to go somewhere in an hour. So we get caught up in time. But really think about it. Even from a simple physical point of view, like we said in the beginning, it's all relative. Sometimes it feels like time goes fast. Those of us who are probably over 45, 50, as we start to get up there, how many of you have ever thought to yourself, my time is going a lot faster now? Well, really, if it's 60 seconds to a minute, how much faster can it go? But if we understand even that, who decided 60 seconds to a minute? 60 minutes to an hour, where'd that come from? Oh, some guy thought it up and everybody said, okay, we'll go along with it. We decided, so even in that simple way, we know it's an illusion. It's not real, like it's an absolute physical concept. So what did the Kabbalists teach us? What is time then? If you really think about it, even you say, okay, it takes me 10 minutes to get from here to work. So what are we really counting as time? As the Kabbalists teach us, time is the space, or if you will, the distance between cause and effect. Time is the distance between cause and effect. So when you say even I've got to drive to work and it's 10 minutes, what you're really saying is the space between the cause of leaving the house to arrive effect at the job, that we call 10 minutes. But on that drive, is it not true, going back to the first things we were saying, can that 10-minute drive sometimes feel like an hour or sometimes feel like 5 seconds? Yes, but it's still 10 minutes by the watch. By the 1% physical material measure, still 10 minutes. But how it impacts us, how we feel about it, that's up to us. That's up to us. So we've got to understand how we can interact with this idea that it's already here. There is no real time. It's already done. Everything's here. We're already perfect. The world's at peace. So you remember there was a movie a number of years ago, and I'm not sure if I could say the name, but you'll get it, where basically it was about two parallel universes in the life of this woman. Started based on, they show her life, up to a certain point where she makes a decision to get on the subway or not get on the subway. And from there, the movie goes, if she got on the subway, this is what her life could look like. By not getting on the subway, this is what her life would look like. So they show how her life would be different just from that one choice. Get on the subway, not get on the subway. Her life in the movie is shown as two very different paths, two very different experiences. So what the Kabbalists teach, what we teach here in the center, is every choice we make is like you've come to a T intersection where you can only go right or left. Well, obviously, that choice is going to determine your experience of the physical surroundings. To the left is one way, whether it's shorter or longer to get to your destination, but what you'll see on the left and experience going left versus going to the right, different things. Different things. And this is what this movie was showing. So the Kabbalists tell us again, we are living in the infinite expanse of light, and within that light there are various levels of existence that we can experience. If you're sitting here, if you're listening right now, think of one thing could be better in your life than it is now, even if it's good, but you just say, I know I want to make it better. Can you think of one thing like that? Health, relationships, even the world. Look at the world now. I want to make it better. By understanding we are not the creator, we are just the receiver or the vessel of the creator's light and all the blessing and all the consciousness, then where did we get even the vision, the thought that a piece of our life could be better if it wasn't already out there? If it didn't already exist in potential? From our point of view, potential. From the Creator's point of view, it's actual. The Creator only sees peace on earth, harmony, joy, unity, oneness. The Creator only sees harmony, joy, unity, oneness. It's from our point of view we can see all the fragmentation. It's our point of view that every choice we make leads to a different place. It's our point of view, whether it's good or bad, we like it, we don't like it. It's up to us, not the Creator. So our choices in life determine what we're going to see. Now, just like in that example, if you turn to the left or turn to the right, yeah, if you have a good GPS, there's a way to always get to your destination. So both roads will lead to your destination. One may be a little more difficult, a little longer, etc., than the other, but they will eventually get you there. So too, the Kabbalists teach, if it's already done from the Creator's point of view, then the destiny is already there. What you and I are working on, and our only spiritual work, is how fast and what route we take to get there. The easier one or the more difficult one. The one with less pain and suffering or the one with more pain and suffering. That's our choice. But other than that, we're all going to have to get to the end that the Creator set us out for. So let me give you a couple examples that I've just recently became reacquainted with in the Bible, just to show us. So there's a story, if you remember, Rebecca and Isaac. And we're just reading, if you read in Genesis, it says, Rebecca came to be or found Isaac. Isaac found Rebecca, soulmates or whatever, and she's barren. She's barren. So it goes through the whole thing, how they prayed, She's pregnant with twins, Esau and Jacob. One good, one bad. And she's now in a quandary because every time she goes by a place of negativity, one part of her belly, we call it Esau, he's active. He wants to get out. He wants to join all that negative stuff. But every time she went by a positive place and positive energy, Jacob, another part of her belly, wants to jump and be active, etc. So she's got a quandary. What's going on? She goes to inquire of some of the great sages of her time. But then, and remember, we're not judging her because all the great patriarchs and matriarchs were, if you will, putting on an act, not that it was fake per se, but for us to understand the technology. Sort of to demonstrate what we can do and emulate to have an easier life, more peaceful life, not easy, not where you sit back, like we said, and do nothing and everything just shows up, but where you can go the way is called mercy, or the way of difficulty, the way of judgment, with added pain and suffering. So it says in the Kabbalistic writings that when she basically said, because she felt like this anguish about having these two different energies in her, she says, like, why is this me? Why me? So the Kabbalists say something very powerful. She was destined, or had the potential, because we want to relate it to us, she had the potential to be the mother of all 12 tribes. If you're familiar with the 12 tribes of Israel, she had the potential. But in essence, she only had two, Jacob and Esau. And ultimately it became Jacob who was the father of the 12 tribes. So she lost that opportunity because she was complaining. She made herself a victim. Why me? What's going on? And yet, like you and I, and this is what I really want us to get, we're not looking at Rebecca, we're looking at us. How many times have we said that? Why is this happening to me? God, what's going on? Why me? I'm so good. I'm so nice. How can this be? But had she not, she could have given birth to the 12 tribes, which in our case would be great blessings. What happened? So then she has Jacob. Now Jacob, right? It's like, if it's already done, then there's always a way. Like we say, if you went to the left and you made another left going exactly the opposite way to your destination, yeah, it'd take you a lot longer and a little more perhaps frustration and anxiety, but eventually you could turn around and get to your destination anyway. So then comes Jacob. What happens with Jacob? Similar thing. So he starts through his wives, he's giving birth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sons, which are the heads of the tribes, the originators of what's called the 12 tribes of Israel, of Jacob. After the 11th one is born, Benjamin, to truly his ultimate soulmate, Rachel, it says in the Kabbalistic writings, he then realized that the 12th one, and I don't want to go into all the reason why 12, etc., but he knew the 12th one was the final one and would manifest all the energy of what's called the Shekhinah, or the Holy Spirit, the energy of the light force on earth. But he also realized that he couldn't do it where he was, which was a place of negativity. He had to go to Israel, or what we call the promised land, like a more positive environment. What did he do? He picked up and he left. Now, if you know some of the story, it was not an easy thing for him to do. He was caught in this negativity called Lavan for 14 years, just to finally marry Rachel, and then another 7 years. So 21 years, he's caught in this negativity. Finally, he realized he's got to pick up and go. He could have said, like some of us, well, what the heck? Had 11 kids here already, why not the 12th one? What's the big deal? No biggie, right? No, he would have lost out according to the Kabbalists, but he picked up and he went. What do I want to share with you through this? The Creator always gives us a second, third, fourth, 100th chance. The issue is, each time we wait, like Jacob. So Rebecca complained, she gave birth to Jacob. Jacob is now going to be the father of the 12 tribes, of the 12 sons. But he also had to go through pain and suffering to get to that. But in the end, he took the merciful way. He left the negative to go to the positive, to complete his mission, to complete the 12 tribes. So think right now, where are you in your life hanging out with or allowing yourself, and please remember that part, allowing yourself to hang out, be stuck in, or stay in a negative environment? And don't look at the people. Don't say, well, that person's so negative. No, you're allowing yourself to stay in a negative environment. Why it's negative? Not up to you to decide and to blame them, etc. Just to realize it's negative. I know people, they complain about their job. Oh, job's terrible, job's terrible, they can't wait to find another job. One, they're not getting up to find another job. And two, what do they do the next day? They go back to the terrible job. So can you say the job is causing them the problem? Or because they chose to go to the job they don't like the next day, that's why they're feeling anxious and upset and stressed out. Everything is our choice. It is our choice. We're in charge. You want to talk about timing? We are in charge of timing. You go to the right, take the long way. Who made the turn? We did. We could have investigated, checked, seen, whatever you want to say, to see that that was the longer route than the other. But everything that happens in our life is based on our choices and therefore our timing. We're in charge. We learn from Kabbalah 1 forward. I'm just looking at the faces here. It's a little tough, but you know what? It's also the most empowering. Yes, we have to accept responsibility. We chose through a series of choices to end up where we are. Doesn't make us bad people. Please do not go there. Some people I know, very difficult, tragic, traumatic experiences. I am not saying they made the other people do those things. At the same time, if we do not want repetitive patterns of those things, then we have to accept our choices brought us there. Can you say any other way? Honestly, why are we here now? Why are you watching this now? November 7th, 2021. Because for the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of your life, you have made choices, and each choice added up to eventually put you right here, right now. You could have chose to stay in bed. You could have chose not to watch. It's a choice you had. So don't look at me and blame me because you're watching. Or that you understand? You chose. I chose to be here. I can't say, oh, you guys made me be here. I'm such a victim. No, I chose, you chose. But we have to understand that. What is the beauty of that? Once we can say, okay, I accept it's my series of choices. And again, I'm not saying it wasn't tough to make some of those choices. I'm not saying there wasn't a lot of pressure on you. Peer pressure, environmental pressure, family pressure, things like that. Yes, there was. But in the end of the day, if we do not accept it was our free will choice under whatever the parameters or the circumstances were, it was still my choice, then heaven forbid from this moment forward, we're just stuck in the mud and the dirt and the pain and the suffering of this world. But once we can accept my choice, then I can wake up and I say, no, I can decide to make another choice. I don't have to do the same choices. I don't have to go the same way. I don't have to give in the same. How many of you know, it's funny, I start to hear a lot of people say, all of a sudden, boundaries. I gotta have boundaries. Really? You mean there were no boundaries 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 2 weeks ago in your life? Why were there no boundaries? If you're going to say, yeah, 2 weeks ago I didn't have boundaries between me and this person or me and this situation, but now I put up the boundaries. Hello? Why didn't you put them up 2 weeks ago? Yes, because that parasite called the opponent in our head was giving us all the reason, the justification, the rationale, and the fear why not to put the boundaries up now. Until it got so painful, we said, enough is enough. I'm putting up those boundaries. I don't want any more of this pain and suffering. I'm willing to go through the short-term pain, putting up the boundaries, and what they're going to say, these people I want boundaries from anyway, I don't care what they say. Of course, if I put up boundaries, they're not going to like it. No boundaries, they were taking all the energy from me they wanted because I was giving it away. Put the boundaries up, they can't take it anymore. And of course, they're not going to like it, but I'm going to love it because I took control over my life. I put the boundaries up. I decided to go here and there. But we also have to add the factor of the light. Let us never forget that. The only power we have, the only power there is the power of the light of God. We have the good fortune for us is our soul is filled with that light. So it's an issue of how much we let out or we don't, how much we cover up or how much we reveal. So again, timing is up to us. If we're pushing ourselves, like even Jacob pushed himself to leave the negative because he knew it was the right moment. So he pushed himself, went out of his comfort zone, left, because he could have said the same thing, It was such a negative environment. They say, without all the story, this guy, Lavan, was a great sorcerer. He had powers. Nobody escaped from him. Nobody was able to, pull away from him. But Jacob understood here the perfect moment for him to leave. And he did whatever he had to do. And it was not an easy path, but it was sure a lot easier than staying there another 20 years and being stuck in all that chaos and that trouble over there. So he got up and pushed. So when you and I do what we call proactive transformation, we push ourselves, make an effort to share uncomfortably, we're speeding up the timing. We're not delaying what's going to be. We're making it happen faster. But if a person's reactive, keep the boundaries down. Don't, confront people. Don't get up and do something new. Don't draw more of your potential out, etc. Well, then the timing is going to be longer. And the sad part of the longer path, it's more painful. Because the same challenges have to come again and again and again. Because it's us, not them. They're just the messenger. Doesn't excuse their behavior, but they're just a messenger. The timing is in us. Faster or slower, up to us. Just like your car. Who decides how fast the car goes? Let's be honest. Does the speed sign really tell you how fast you can drive? Nobody in this room, probably nobody watching. Yeah, see, they're all smiling and laughing. I look at 50, I say, okay, 50 to 60 maybe. I don't say, got to watch out for 50. I hope none of you are police people. Okay. I drive a green Ford, truck. Just in case you're trying to find me, okay. Shh, not really. Okay. Right? It's up to us. It's in our hands. It's in our hands. So you want to know what real divine timing is? Oh, here, a couple examples I didn't want to forget. How fast? Now we're getting the idea. Everything's in our hands. How many of you have any resentment for more than 5 years about someone or something? Still bothering you. Some resentment. Be honest. Resentment, hurt, anger, fear. I don't know, maybe we have some righteous people here. I don't know. Revealed righteous. They're not raising their hand. So let's look at it this way. How fast we overcome our resentment. How fast we overcome. So if you've been holding on to resentment for 5 years and today you decide, I'm going to overcome my resentment, that's how quickly you, me, the one making that choice, will have a greater sense of peace. So wait another year to let go of your resentment, to overcome and transform it. It's another year of pain and suffering. And then a year later, you can have greater peace. Or you can decide now how fast you overcome your jealousy. Why do they have? Why are they getting? Why has everybody got, not me? Why are they in this relationship? Why did they get married? Why do they have this new business? Whatever it is, the faster you overcome your jealousy, the faster, the quicker you will manifest the blessings the Creator already set out for you. Because nobody can take them. You can give them away, you can delay them, but nobody can take them from you. So overcome your jealousy, have more blessings. The faster you decide to overcome your anger by transformation, not just trying to let go. We've talked about that before. No such thing as letting go. You transform or it's still with you. It's tied to you. So you think you let go, well, now it's on a string. So as you keep walking, it's following you anyway. Just you may not think you're holding it in your hand. So the faster you change, overcome, and transform through your anger, the faster you have serenity, peace of mind, clarity, less stress. The faster you overcome your judgment, the faster you have better health. Because judgment, as most of these, are related to health. And of course, the faster you overcome your hatred, your real deep animosity to people, places, and things, then the faster not only can you be loved, but the faster you can also love others. We think we're loving people, but it's very limited. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but if you look at yourself like I've had to see myself these last few years and see, I still hold this and this and this and this, then there's a part of me that's been blocked. Where not only could I not be hurt because nobody could get in, but I couldn't get out either. Till that became so painful, I had to take that wall down. I had to break that shell and be willing to be hurt, but keep that heart open, because that's true love, and that's true peace and bliss. So yeah, it's not an easy path, but it's the only thing we can do to speed up the process. Remember, God gave us everything. So even you say, and we mentioned a little bit, okay, so there's more opportunities. So without giving again the names, because I don't know what they might do, years back, somebody threw out to me the idea of buying cryptocurrency. So I asked somebody that I knew, who's a financial manager, I said, do you know what cryptocurrency is? And they tell me, I have no idea. So I didn't invest. Of course, now you look back and what could you think? Oh my God, for a couple $100, I could be a billionaire now. Or how many of you look back? I knew a guy invested in AOL. You remember when? Oh, I said it. Okay, I hope that's okay. Right? When that first one comes out, invested, it split, it went up, it split again. The guy had millions and millions of dollars. I had no concept what it is. Right? The World Wide Web. Now look at me. Right? I'm on the web all over the world. But back then I'm thinking, what is this? I thought it was amazing because someone told me, you know, they have this thing called the World Wide Web. You can make long distance calls for free. Thinking, wow, that's great for the center because we have centers all over the world, right? Now we can make all those calls for free. We save money. We can use that money to do other things, teach people Kabbalah, spread the Zohar. That's what I understood about the web. What did I know? Right? So let's say a person missed that chance. Then there's the other one. Then Apple came along, or you could invest in Google, this cryptocurrency. What I'm trying to get across to us, there's always an opportunity. Like we said, if you're going from here to Orlando, there's a million ways you could go. You can go via Los Angeles, right? Just drive west, hit Los Angeles, come back east, and go to Orlando. You could do it. It takes a couple weeks, but you have that choice. There's many ways to go, but Orlando is going to, hopefully, it's always going to be there. So whichever way you go, eventually you can get there. If we hold the thought, God already gave us everything, it's all here, it's all perfect, etc., our job is just to live into it, to go the more direct route. Then even if we missed one opportunity, there's another one showing up. And when the person misses that one, then there's another one showing up. And when they miss that one, there's another one. Because like we said, God is infinite. It's already here. It's already done. It's just we keep covering it up. So like anything else, you pull a sheet over you in bed. Now you're only covered by a sheet. Then you're a little cold, you pull over a blanket. And it's still cold, you pull over a comforter. Okay, so you got more things to take off to reveal yourself, but you're still there. So the same thing. Our job is to remove the covers that are hiding what's inside of us and what's all around us. That's our work. So then you want to ask, what's really divine timing? What's really God's timing? Which we said is really only from our point of view. Divine timing is, as we said by Rebecca and by Jacob, and look back on your life. Every time, Karen said it. That was what we read from Karen. If we open our eyes and tune in spiritually, we will find that each day, because of the challenges we face, affords us with a chance to discover the light from the darkness. Instead of running away from the challenge, face the challenge. So you want to know what really is, from our point of view, divine timing? The person who comes and says the nasty thing, the person who does the nasty thing, the things that don't go our way, when our buttons are being pushed, you and I have learned from Kabbalah 1, our buttons are being pushed, that's exactly the right time I have to identify my negativity, my blockage, and then share to break through that blockage. Then the light of my soul shines out into the world. Then my next level of blessing comes manifest to me, but real blessings, lasting blessing, not the temporary one. We've all had that. You fell in love, you fell out of love. You fell in love, you fell out of love. You got this job was great, then it was terrible. You got another job, then it was great, then it was terrible. Okay, so while it's good, but then it goes away. But God's light, infinite. It's a lasting fulfillment. The more we channel that, the more we work with that, the more we're beacons of that light, the more those blessings stay with us. And so every challenge is that opportunity to grow to the next level. And on the next level, less chaos, more light, more blessings, more like-minded people, like-minded things. Sure, there's another challenge somewhere, either voluntary or involuntary, to go to the next and the next till we hit our 100%. So if everything was just up to God, that's the way it's going to be, then we have to ask ourselves a question. Or at least if you're involved in the center, what the heck is the purpose of the center? You and I have learned from all the Kabbalists, and I read a few different commentaries even this weekend. The world is set by Kabbalistic teachings and technology. The world is set that it will be the end of chaos, the end of discord, the end of disharmony, the end of hatred, violence, animosity, greed, ego, pollution, disease, all those things. The end will happen, has to happen by the year 6000. And for those of you unfamiliar, we are currently not in 2021 Kabbalistically. We are in 5782. So it's 97% finished. Sounds like a long time, left 200 years, but it's not really. That has to be the end of pain, suffering, and death, which is why there's so much chaos now. Because the closer we get, the more concentrated. Smaller the world is getting, and you're fitting 8 billion people into smaller and smaller space. So just imagine if you added another 5, 6, 7 people to your household living with you. So if you've got a room by yourself, imagine now 3 or 4 people living in that room with you. Even if they're people you like, at some point it's going to be a little disturbing, no? Even if they're nice people, good people, something going to bother you. Now you put 5 more people in that same room. You're going to be less bothered or more bothered. Even no matter how good we are, how spiritual, at some point, you follow the idea? So take 8 billion people in a smaller and a smaller and a smaller space. And unfortunately, most of those people don't know how to make themselves grow into what God made them to be. They may be nice people, but like we said, nice people still have their bad habits, whatever it is, smaller and smaller space. That's why there's such an intensity of pain, suffering, and chaos in the world today. Not because people are bad. Everybody created by God is perfect. But with the help of that parasite and bad habits, we've learned how to behave in a similar bad behavior way. But the essence of us still God, still perfect. So then what am I driving at? The point of the center is not to make peace on earth. because peace on earth has to happen by the year 6000. So we just hang out, enjoy the pain and suffering, enjoy the chaos. And don't think, oh, I'm okay. Because as the world shrinks, all the negativity gets closer and closer and closer to each of us. So you may think, oh, for us here, we're in Florida, not so bad. There's miles and miles and miles and miles of maybe a environment of relative peace versus some of the things going on out there. But if the earth shrinks, then those violent or hate-filled or greed-filled or disaster-filled areas are going to come closer and closer to where we are. So the only point of the center is by spreading the Zohar, number one, the books. And I know I keep emphasizing it because I want to overcome what the parasites told us for thousands of years. The book of the Zohar shines the most powerful light of God, period. Endless light. It shines. So the point of the center, by spreading the books and teaching people Kabbalah so they understand the power of the book. Because you look at a book, what do you think when you look at a book? Got to read it and understand it, right? If I give you a physics book, even in your language, and you open it up, you say, I don't understand a word of it. But you can read the words, you don't get it. Now you say, okay, here, Chaim, we're going to spread these books, in this case, Aramaic and English. And because of the Aramaic shining light, that's going to be the end of all pain, suffering, and death? No, what does that pointing in our head say? Stupid, what do you mean? Books are meant to be read. Books are meant to be read and understood, right? No. The point of the book of the Zohar is to go to your soul. Wake up the light in your soul. The light in your soul is God, is your God programming. Start waking that up, and suddenly you'll have new awareness. The intuition will get stronger, the guidance from the light, and I want to share this with you too, transparency. You'll start to feel more and more discomfort from your own anger, jealousy, greed, ego, fear, guilt, shame, which will push you to change. But that's coming from the inside, so it's mercy, as opposed from the outside, which is judgment. So that's the purpose of the center. Why? Because as we've just entered the last couple months, the year 5782, what the power of the center is, like we've said on all levels, the purpose of the center is to finish all the chaos this year, 5782. With your help, with focus, with spreading the Zohar, bringing more people to understand this wisdom and understand that the Zohar is not a book. I've often told some of the teachers, if we could build this into the shape of a crystal, especially now in the last few years, if you said, oh yes, this is a Zohar crystal, because more and more people understand, oh yeah, crystal healing, right? Quartz has energy and all the other names have energy, all these different crystals, and they put them on people's body, right, for all the chakras and this, that, and other thing. So if this looked like a crystal, people, oh, I get it, a crystal. Hello, what's a crystal? Wake up. What's a crystal? Tell me simple terms, what's a crystal? It's a rock. It's a rock out of the ground. A rock out of the ground has all this amazing energy to heal, to change the energy in your house and this, and awaken your chakras and this. Oh, but a book, What's the difference? The book is a tree, right? Came from a tree. The tree, oh, everybody loves nature. Hug a tree. Oh, feels so good. The energy, the vibration. Okay. So what's the difference? Except this shines the endless light of God. Trees are a piece of that. Crystals are a piece of that, a fragmented piece. This is just the pure light of God. So we got to shift our consciousness, not the idea of a book or a crystal or whatever, but that's the whole point. So we want to speed up the process by bringing more and more people to this wisdom. 5782, no reason it cannot be the end of pain, suffering, and chaos. According to the Kabbalists, for at least the last 22 years, actually 32 years, 5750 technically. From any day in the last 32 years, everything is here. There's nothing missing except the removal of those blockages, the curtains in our own head, in our own consciousness, and those curtains that create the divisiveness, the separation between people. Look at us. I always say, you don't have to like people, you don't have to hang out with them, but for our own sake, we got to connect to the light of God inside them. Consciously. Take a wire, like these wires that connect the microphone and all. So plug it in. Take the wire from your soul, and in your consciousness, shine the light to that person, plug into the light in their soul. You're not going to pick up their negativity. You're not going to get all their terrible thoughts and this and this and this, you'll plug into the light in their soul. Now you're more connected to the light. The beauty is, as you do that, they have an awakening. Imagine 10,000 of us focused on connecting to the light inside the worst person on earth. So much light awakens up inside them that the light in their soul makes them feel internal pain over their hatred, their animosity, their greedy actions. They're going to stop in a minute. Take the worst person on earth that you know. You don't think, again, in simple terms, if you put their hand on a hot stove or a hot something, they're going to scream and take their hand away? They're going to say, oh, no, this is great and wonderful. No, even they. Some pain is going to be overwhelming to them. So us, by spreading the Zohar and connecting to the light in their soul, we're causing them from inside to feel that pain. That they'll stop immediately. Like we were talking here before we started, stopped in their tracks. They're running down to take actions to be greedy and violent and egotistical and guilt, whatever it is. Boom! So much light, stopped in their tracks. They realize from inside, got to act like God. Kind, compassionate, generous, forgiving, tolerant, understanding, loving. That's the transformation. And it's here now. That's the paradox. You look at the world, and the Zohar's told us 2,000 years in its written form. It says, in this time we're living now, you can look out in the world and people will be able to see all the darkness that's more intensifying. But if you open the eyes of your heart, as the Kabbalah, as the Zohar calls it, the eyes of your heart that connects to the light of God, that connects to the Garden of Eden, that lets us see from our pure soul. If you open those eyes, it says at the same time you'll be able to see all the light that's getting stronger and stronger. The gray is moving out. So either people seeing all the, like the half empty, all the darkness and the chaos, etc., or like Karen's book, based on the Zohar, the point of the center is teach us how to take light out of the darkness and therefore remove the darkness and the chaos. So we want to understand, bottom line is, Creator put us in the Garden of Eden. We never left the Garden of Eden. You say, but the Bible says we did. Did the Garden of Eden get destroyed? No. So where is the Garden of Eden? It's right here, right now. Wherever we are, the Garden of Eden is present. Why don't we see it? Again, our fear, our negativity, etc. So as we join forces, which is the whole purpose of the center, gather people from all over the world. Doesn't matter your background, race, religion, color, political party, I don't know, cultural status, economics, who cares? Every person on earth is a human being, has the light of God in their soul. As we join forces and we awaken that consciousness and we start getting more and more people to plug into the light in everybody else's soul, we're taking off the covers that are hiding the Garden of Eden, that are hiding heaven on earth. And suddenly you and I start to feel more blessed than ever. That I'm living in a protected environment, especially what's going on. I can feel, I can taste, I can sense my piece of the Garden of Eden. But I know there's more. And I can't leave them out, because if they're out of the Garden of Eden, because we are one soul, part of me is out. So we want to take this opportunity, open the eyes of our heart, not just our heart, because we've thought that for years. Open my heart to this person, big well, I'm never going to be hurt again. You open the eyes of your heart, you'll never close your heart. Even if a person tries to stamp on your heart, the light of God will protect it. We just have to be determined to keep going forward. Never giving up, but joining forces. Because the beauty of joining forces is 1 and 1 is not 2. 1 and 1 could be 100. 5 and 5 could be 10,000. 1,000 and 1,000 could affect billions. That's the power we are. So we have to understand how much power we have. God put a piece of itself inside of us. The infinite power of God. Nothing more powerful. You want to take away the curtains? Not only your individual work, but join in your consciousness. Start plugging in, like we do on the web. If you're not connected to the World Wide Web, what can you watch? Nothing, unless you happen to download it on your computer, but very limited. You go on the web, you have access to everything around the world. Go on the spiritual World Wide Web. Piece of your soul that's connected to every person on earth. So just like this, if I don't put the right, web address in, I'm not getting there. But if I put the right one in, I access the whole world. If you and I put the right thing, love, kindness, compassion, humility, and we send that out, unconditional love, love your neighbor, we connect to all those people, we start to draw for us and awaken for them. And there's no reason why, like we often say, you walk in your house, you've been gone for 3 days. So the darkness in your house is 3 days old. You turn on the light, how fast do 3 days of darkness go away? So when enough of us turn on the light of our soul, let it be revealed, then 5,782 years of darkness disappear like this. And what do we see? That we've been sitting in the Garden of Eden. We've been sitting in heaven on earth, and that everybody actually is a piece of God, and we're allowing them and encouraging them and supporting them in us to reveal that part, that we can finish the darkness, get rid of the angel of death, reveal heaven on earth, and live in eternal bliss. Sounds good to me. Does it sound good to you? Are you ready to do what it takes? God bless. Okay, thank you. Okay. So let's do our meditation. Again, the only way we can do it. I wish I could tell you the center had a few $1 billion of resources, but with your help we'll get there, and that'll be enough to spread so much Zohar, no more darkness. There'll be no place for the angel of death to hide. So this is why we always take these few minutes now, because we can't do it without your help. Even think from the spiritual point of view. How could we? I cannot know one person. Even you talk of the great Kabbalists. Rabbi Shimon had his son, always connected to God. Moses had God. There's no way we could do this by ourselves. Not any of us. You know, people say, oh, they go off the grid. You ever heard that? They go off the grid, they go in the middle of, the Midwest somewhere, live out in the dirt, and they grow their own food and all the other stuff. So they think they're independent, yes? Who made the earth? Who made the seeds that they can plant to have their own food? Who put the sun out there that they can use solar? Whatever you say, we cannot do anything by ourselves in that way. So this is why, yes, I appreciate on behalf of the center all that you give and all that you share with us. I ask you, though, also from the bottom of my heart, push yourself a little bit, whatever more you can do, because it's another life out there. I think I shared with you, we figured out now through the program of the scholarship, Karenberg Scholarship Program, that the average is about $101 to sponsor a person. Most people on average can pay about $50 if they need the scholarship. So for $101, you're causing one person to be able to learn, who wants to learn and wants to change. You just saved their life. Think of that. What's the price of saving a life? And not only them, but all the people around them that they influence. $101. So let's see. And I'm not saying in this way, but I want you to get the perspective. Okay, let's do it the simpler way. 20 cups of coffee or a human life and everybody else that they can support. We need to start thinking like that so it wakes us up. And I'm not telling you shouldn't have coffee or you shouldn't buy a car, et cetera, et cetera. I want us to understand where's the value for us to spread the light. Because you save one life, you've saved the world. And the world is yours first. So let's just take a moment, those of you who are here, those of you online with us, and I put the link for those of you who are online to give, but those of you here, just hold your offering in your hand. Money is just a vessel. It's a cup. So what you fill it with is what it'll do for the world and what it'll bring back to you. So we just want to have gratitude, appreciating the fact that we are just the vessel of God, and God has filled us with infinite light. And it's the light that gives us our talents and abilities, the ability to be loving, kind, compassionate, tolerant, humble, generous, forgiving. Allowed us to have and be everything we are, everything we have. And so we inject this gift from the depth of our hearts and our soul with love and light and blessings. And ask, not only that it goes out to awaken the heart and soul of every human being on earth, but we also ask with greater desire to be shown our blockages, to have an awakening of the strength to break through those curtains, those veils, and those walls that have separated us not only from other people, but have also separated us from the light of God in our own soul and all of our own blessings. And because we know cause and effect, what goes around comes around. As we extend ourselves to share more for others, we know that in return the universe has to and will extend itself to share more with us. Together we say, Amen. All of those who are online, thank you for joining us. I will make an effort sometime today, put this video on the YouTube, the Spiritual Sunday YouTube channel. So if you have friends that aren't on Facebook, you send them the link. Give me a couple hours to do that. And this will be on the page. It stays here, I don't know, for months and months, maybe years. And have a great week. God bless. And let's really open the eyes of our heart and soul to see the reality that's around us, that everybody is a part of us, and therefore to remember, acknowledge, and see consciously the power that we have to change not only our life, but the lives of everybody, the world itself. God bless. Thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw, subscribe to this channel that you'll be notified when we post new videos. Share the video with your friends, they can also benefit. And check out the website, www.kabbalah.com, that's Kabbalah, for hundreds of articles and classes. Wish you an amazing day, and God bless.